All right, so this is going to be your last project, and what you're going to do is you're going to work with photography. So this is going to be photography and sculpture. I kind of got you ready for this project with the simple project that we did last week, where you were looking at photographs of actual artwork and just beautiful photographs of three-dimensional type objects, and you were trying to discern if it had line or color or texture or shape and form or value. So we were talking about design, and we call them the elements and the principles of design, and you were marking whether you saw particular elements or particular principles in each of the photographs. So we're taking kind of that idea, and we're also going back to our Goldsworthy exercise where we saw beauty in everyday types of items. So we're trying to tie those two together to make up this particular project. So the goal of the project is to demonstrate an understanding of design. So when I say that, again, we're talking about the elements and principles of design through photography. Specifications, you're going to have about 3 to 5 photographs of the same type of items artistically arranged. Now that may be that you go outside and you find things that are absolutely beautiful and you photograph them, or it may mean that you go around your house and you try to find things that are interesting and you arrange them in a certain way to make them look beautiful, interesting, like a piece of artwork. So what do you have in your house? Do you have a collection of plastic army men? Do you have some basic tools such as hammers, saws, drills? Do you have different types of cooking utensils? Do you have Barbie dolls? Do you have Matchbox cars? I know one of you had sent me an email and you wanted to use sports equipment for one of the other projects. And I said, oh, wait, save it because we're going to do something with photography later on. So let's say that you had a number of pieces of sports equipment. You want to look at them, you want to make sure that there's enough unity, that they look like they go together, and enough contrast to make them interesting. So for example, if you had a cleat, like a sneaker or a cleat, the most interesting part of the cleat might be the bottom and then the laces. So you'd want to do something different with the laces. Maybe you would want to lay them out on the floor, or maybe you'd want to tie your cleats together and hang them off of a doorknob or off of a hook on the wall. Maybe if you had anything that was tall and thin, anything linear, you would lean it against the wall. So you wouldn't just take all the equipment that you have and drop it on the floor and hope for the best and take some photographs of it and pass it in. You have an artist's eye now. You've been developing a keen sense of design through 3D design, and you want to display the fact that you do have that keen eye, so you want it to look good. You want it to be well designed, all right? But it can be a collection of just about almost anything. So you could choose something from your house. You could choose something from outside, and that's where we pull in a little bit of the Goldsworthy. So you can find toys, so children's modes of transportation such as bicycles, tricycles, wagons, big wheels, the inside of a motor of a car, parts of a tractor, barn equipment, sports equipment, gardening tools, anything that has to do with trees, flowers, branches, all those types of things. So kind of look around to see what you think is very, very beautiful. It can be either in the form of relief or it can be in the round. So before you left, your balsa foam that you were working on is a relief sculpture. And if you had stayed longer, we would have then gone on to in the round types of sculpture. So in the round is a sculpture that pretty much the name says it all, is you can walk around it and it looks good from all sides, the front, the side, and the back. Whereas relief, you either scrape into it like we did with the balsa foam, or you add on to it. So you build it up, and it only really looks good from the front. So you're going to decide whether you want to photograph things that are in relief or if your sculpture is going to be in the round. And because I had some really good examples of them from your Goldsworthy project, this is Cami Leathers. This was hers. Hers is definitely in relief. It's against the pavement. So it is flat, and those things that are coming out of it are three-dimensional. And then this one over here, which is Noah's, 2 birch trees. You'll be able to see this better on the computer too. And then he kind of wove together a platform, and then with on top of the platform he placed some rocks that are balanced. So this one is in the round. Noah could walk all the way around. You could walk all the way around if you were in these woods, and that sculpture would look good from all the way around. Whereas obviously we can't get behind Cammie's sculpture because it is relief. It is flat against the ground. When you take the photographs, you're probably going to have to take more than 3 to 5 photographs because you want to get it at different angles. You want to notice the cast shadow. You want to notice the silhouette of the items if it is in the round. All right, so let me just talk about silhouettes for a minute because that's something that we would have talked about a lot if we had been in class. When we finished the balsa foam, we would have gone on to clay, and then after we went on to clay, we would have went on to a block of balsa foam. So you would have gotten a block that looks something like this, and then you would have done a whole bunch of different designs to fill in this block to make it so that it came out to be some type of sculpture. So let's say that it looked something like this, or we can use this one because it has some more overlapping. The outside, where the sculpture hits the air on the outside, that is called the silhouette. So you can see these are all in silhouette. And if you remember back from the very beginning of 3D design, when I had you doing a drawing assignment that had to do with Little Red Riding Hood, that was kind of pre-teaching or getting you ready to do this project as well, thinking about the positive and the negative space and looking at both of those things to get a well-balanced type of design. So if this is really beautiful, if this outline right here is really beautiful, if this shape right here is really beautiful, then probably whatever is inside here is beautiful as well. So look at that as well. As a matter of fact, one of the ones that I did is going to be the cattail ones, and there'll be pictures of this onto your Google Classroom. So this one is a sculpture in the round. Where you can walk around these. We had to walk around to take pictures at different angles. And then that kind of overexposed it so that you could see the difference between the positive space and the negative space. So to my eye, these are quite beautiful, the shape of them and the silhouette of them. And I also think they're quite beautiful when they're nice and close up as well, the texture on them, the line, those type of things. So this one is an example of one of the ones that I did in the whole thing. The other pictures are on Google Classroom. This is the first one I did with the sculpture in the round. And then this morning when I went outside, I happened to notice that the tree that's outside the window that I always work in, a lot of the petals fell off of the Chinese crabapple tree, and they fell onto the ground against a piece of slate. And I thought that was really beautiful as far as a relief sculpture. So this would be the closest to you, and then it would get further away, and you'd have to carve all these out individually and get a lot of depth within those, and then you'd have this really cool textured part in the background as well. So I have a few different pictures of that one. So this is my relief. Let's see if I can get these up, and those are my other 2 pictures as well. Okay, this one I thought was really pretty too. So one is relief and one is in the round. I just happened to choose both of mine being organic. I looked around the house. I didn't have a lot of really beautiful glasses, or I don't have any toys. I could have used paintbrushes, but to be honest, a lot of my paintbrushes are pretty much similar to one another. I don't think there's enough of a difference between them to get that nice relationship between unity and contrast. They're pretty much the same. Okay? So let's just see, make sure I covered everything. I'm going to ask you to name them too. So this one was called The Evolution of Time, and this one I called Windswept. All right, and then for your answer sheet, this is what it's going to look like on Google Classroom. So you're going to have some questions that you have to answer. Are your photographs examples of relief or in the round? Pretty simple, right? What elements or principles are most evident in your work? So remember that the paper, the last assignment has all the elements and all the principles on that, and the definitions are all written out. And it says, the third one is define and describe how 3 or more of the elements are evident in your work. So to help you with that one, because that one I thought was a little bit more complex, I went back and I answered it based on the cattail one that I went. So you can read through this and kind of model your answer on that if you would like. What is your area of interest? And you can do it in one photograph, or you can do it in, you can note all the photographs and what is the area of interest in each one, or it might be a similar area of interest. It all depends on your items that you have photographed. Describe the movement to the area of interest. So when you're looking at your piece, is there one piece that's more important, and how did your eye get there? You know, did it come up a line and then it comes to here and then you come back down the line? Does this line go to the area of interest? Does this branch over here kind of point to the area of interest? Does this one kind of lead you over to the area of interest? How does your eye move to the area of interest? How or why did you choose the theme of your work? It's totally personal. So like, I like the shape of the cattails. I thought the petals this morning were really beautiful against the slate. That's my taste. Your taste can be totally and absolutely different because you're not a 60-year-old woman. You are a teenager. So whatever you happen to find to be beautiful, that's up to you. Describe the most interesting part of your work. So what captures you the most? Like if I look at the cattails, I find I have a tendency to really love line anyways. But to me, it was line, but then it was also this really cool smoky texture that I thought was really beautiful. And then on the one with the petals, I really like the contrast of the cool slate, the sleek cool slate, against the very warm petals, and then against the very rough type of background, either the dirt or kind of like a grass that was behind there that kind of turned yellow because it's probably dead. That appealed to me. And then you're going to name your work. Did I do this one? Describe this. Okay. So you're going to name your work, create a title. That will just kind of help me to gain an understanding of where you're going with it. You know, if it's a very uplifting title, then I can kind of get the way that you're feeling about it. If it's a more mysterious title, I can get to understand where your brain's at that particular point. And then the grading rubric. So when you answer from 1 to 10 above, when you answer these, you're going to get your 50 points. Your photographs are 25. Creative use of materials, so that means, you know, what did you use for your items? Your scope of materials, did you need to arrange and rearrange? The difficulty of the photography, you know, flower petals blow away, birds are difficult to keep still. Like, you know, obviously these are new projects for me as well. So before I give them to you, I do them, and then I realize what the problems are. Like, things don't go smoothly. Things, you know, happen when you're trying to make something or design something. So when I look at yours, I can imagine what you had to go through in order to get to your end project as well, or your end product as well. Okay, so that's the last one. Hopefully that'll bring everything together and not be too time consuming, because you won't have to build anything, or you won't have to try to figure out how to glue things and things like that. But at least we will be covering the basics that we would have covered if we had been in class in 3D design. Okay, good luck. I can't wait to see what you do. Thanks.